Hey, welcome to Community Services Unlimited's Garden Gateway virtual workshop. I'm Tomer, I'm one of CSU's urban farmers, and we're here at the Expo Urban Mini Farm. CSU is a nonprofit organization based in South Central LA, and we provide healthy cooking and gardening workshops every month. You can learn more at csuinc.org. In this virtual workshop, we will be exploring composting. Healthy plants come from healthy soil. Most of the nutrients that plants need come right out of the soil. So plants absorb them with their roots and with their leaves. A beautiful part about the life cycle is how nature recycles itself through decomposition. And that is, you can see that in the forest when leaves fall to the ground and the living soil and moisture and time breaks down those plant materials and makes it able to reuse and recycle those nutrients back into the soil. Throughout history, humans have found ways to thrive and survive off the land. And one of those ways is composting. We figure it out by mimicking nature. We can speed up the process of breaking down food waste and plant matter that you wouldn't use. You can then recycle it by composting. What is compost? Compost is a mixture of ingredients used to fertilize and improve the soil, commonly prepared by decomposing plant matter, food waste, and recycling organic materials. The resulting mixture is rich in plant nutrients and microorganisms, such as worms and fungal mycelium. We look at food scraps and plant matter as highly nutritious food for our soil. We use moisture, time, air to help break down that organic matter. You can think of the composting process similar to a digestive system, breaking down materials and redistributing them to be used as fuel. Composting helps reduce waste going to landfill, and it also provides free organic materials in your garden instead of buying bottled nutrients or fertilizer. How to compost? There are a few different ways to compost. Pit, which is burying food scraps in a hole. There's pile, which is creating a pile on top of ground, layering the same way. And there's container, which is using a container which either you can turn or that just is still. So building a compost is a lot like making a lasagna. You're layering green material and brown material and thin sticks and adding soil and your food waste, continually adding different layers. You can also add worms to your compost, and they help break down the material, and they also add a lot of very, very highly nutritious nutrients into the soil as well. Most likely worms will find your compost too, so you don't always have to add. You can compost food scraps and plant matter, but it's advised that beginners don't add meat or dairy products to their compost because it can attract animals and it can also create harmful bacteria. So our recipe for making compost is 4-to-1. 4 parts green and 1 part brown. And green are things like green matter that's still green, that still has moisture in it. And brown are things that are brown, dry, things like dry leaves and things like that. So 4 parts green, and green is nitrogen, adding nitrogen to your compost, and 1 part brown, which is adding carbon. You can also add amendments to your compost mixes other than just the green and brown waste. You can add things like soil things like worm castings. You can add ocean products like shells and things like that, and other fermentations. Depending on how much food waste that you're putting out or how much waste your garden has, you can decide to have multiple different either containers, piles, or pits, so that you can have one designated for adding, one that's sitting, and maybe one that's ready to be used. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Bokashi. Bokashi is a Japanese technique. You're basically pickling or fermenting food waste, and this is a faster way of breaking down food to be able to compost. So this is something that we use on our farm. We'll collect our food scraps from the village marketplace or from the farm, put it in buckets, and add Bokashi to it. Let that sit for about 2 weeks, 10 days, and that product is we're able to use in our compost, usually planting it in our garden beds and then planting on top of it. Bokashi requires food scraps, fruits, veggies. You can also do meat and dairy with Bokashi. Bokashi inoculate and a bucket. The inoculate mixture is made up of either bran or sawdust that's been soaked in water with molasses and beneficial microbes. This mixture is then dried out, packaged, and remains shelf stable for up to 2 years for use. The bucket needs to be airtight. Ideally, it should have a spigot to drain out the liquid, since it's probably pretty smelly. Also, the plants really love that liquid, usually called Bokashi tea. Thanks for tuning in to Community Services Unlimited Garden Gateway virtual workshop here at the Expo Urban Mini Farm. For more information, go to csuinc.org.